Everybody wants to grow their brand online, but few actually know how to create good content. And for the ones that do, it's extremely difficult to stay on top of this process enough to actually see results. Most people just don't have time for social media, they end up missing out on this opportunity completely. And to just put things in perspective, let's take a look at a quick example. Let's say you have a brand that you're trying to grow online and you want to post across 4 social media sites. Let's just say you choose LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook to post 3 times per week. If you actually want to commit to this, you're going to have to draft ideas for content that your audience actually cares about. You're going to actually have to write those posts out or produce them into videos. Then you're going to have to optimize that content for each one of those 4 social media platforms because they each have slightly different expectations. And then, of course, you're going to have to get a consistent posting schedule up that allows you to monitor your content so that you can double down on what works and then eliminate everything that isn't. In the end, it's no wonder why people find themselves spending 2 to 3 hours a day just posting content across all these platforms. I'm going to take this video to show you guys an AI automation that I built that solves this exact problem and allows you to produce content that would have taken several hours in less than a minute. Now that might sound too good to be true, but there's actually a lot going on in this automation, and I'm going to break all of it down for you guys so you can understand how this works and how you can refine it so that it can produce content that sounds as close to your voice as possible. And one of the biggest advantages of using a system like this is it puts you ahead of everybody else who doesn't even know that this exists yet. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's dive straight into this solution so we can break it down, and feel free to use the timestamps below the videos to skip around if there's anything particular you want to see. So here's an overview of the entire content automation process. And now it might look like there's a lot going on here, but let me break it down for you so you guys can understand it better. But before we actually get into that, I'm going to trigger this automation so that we can perform a little demo and create some actual pieces of content with this. So let's head over to our Airtable database where this entire system is triggered and take a look at the information that we'll input there. So this database is actually very basic, and I did that on purpose just to make it as easy as possible to create these posts. So first up, we have the post subject, which is just a line that's going to instruct the system on what exactly we're going to be posting about. In this case, I decided to create a post about how to use AI to grow your brand without being inauthentic. Now for the second category, you can choose exactly which social media you want to create content for. Now you can choose 1 or more platforms, or if you want to create content for every platform, you just select all like I did in this example. And just to the right of that, we have the key details. And this is actually going to be a place that acts sort of like a brain dump. You don't have to worry about being particularly cohesive or complete here. The idea is just to lay out everything that you want to talk about so that we can pass it on to the system and then use that in addition to a system prompt to actually generate your content for you. Now you can input as much or as little detail as you want in this section, and the AI will take care of the rest. Lastly, we have our status section, and this is where the automation itself is going to be triggered. So if you come in here, all you have to do is click this generate button, and that will automatically trigger the automation to start running and producing your content for you. Now once your content is actually done, I have it set up to be saved within a different tab in the same Airtable database. And as you can see, I fast forwarded a little bit to show that once this entire process is finished, the status gets changed from generate to done. Now let's take a look at the actual content. And I have this under a finished post tab here. Now this is organized so that it's easy for you to find all of your recent posts. So you'll be able to come over here to subject, and you'll be able to see exactly what each row is going to contain. And from what we have here, the system has generated 4 different posts for each of the social media platforms that I have set up. So I'm just going to run through and take a quick look at each of these. And of course you can feel free to pause the video here if you want to read through any of these posts to get a better idea of what the system created. But first off, we have the post here for LinkedIn. Next, let's check out the post for Instagram. And as you can see, it's the exact same information, but it's just optimized for Instagram. And now let's take a look at Facebook. And again, same content, just optimized for Facebook's platform. And then finally, we have X, which is optimized for either a short post or for a short thread. And now that we've actually taken a look at this demo, let's actually dive into the automation so that I can show you guys exactly how this works. So now that we're done with our demo, let me take you behind the scenes on this automation so that you can see exactly how it works. The first thing we have going on here is an Airtable Watch Records module. And what this is going to do is it's going to watch for that last status category to be clicked to generate. Once that happens, all of that information is going to be passed onto the system and the entire automation is going to be triggered. This next module is going to create a new record in Airtable to prepare it for all the finished content so it has somewhere to go when it's done generating. Now this router is actually going to determine which platforms you want to post on. So for example, if you just said you wanted to post on LinkedIn, it would filter only to the LinkedIn path. If you only wanted to post on Instagram, it would just go to the Instagram path. In this example, since I wanted to post to every single one of these platforms, the data got passed through all 4 paths. Now let's just zoom out for a second because each of these pathways are going to function extremely similar to one another. So let's just focus on these top 2 pathways to keep things simple. So the first step that's going to happen is that these GPT modules are going to capture all of the information from that notes section, and it's going to summarize and condense that just so that it's easier to pass on to Claude. Now after that, each of these pathways is going to connect to a different Google Doc that's going to contain examples of social media posts for each platform that either you've written or that you found whose style you'd like to emulate. Now this is actually an important step because it's going to instruct the system on the particular voice that you're going for. And this is going to be a source of a lot of the originality in your posts. So although you don't have to have this step, it makes a big difference in the output. Now next up, I have a router set up just for my LinkedIn and X pathways, just in case there's any research that needs to be done for the post. And of course you could set this up for any of these other pathways, but in this case I just set it up for 2 of these platforms. Now if the system detects that you do want to do research, the workflow will follow this upper route, which is to pass the information onto Perplexity to gather some numbers or statistics that are relevant for your post. After that, it'll use Claude to draft an outline, generate a post, and it'll update that new Airtable record under finished content. Now, if it were to go the other way, it'd follow the exact same pathway as these 2 below. The workflow will go straight from your sample document directly to Claude's outline, then it'll generate a post, update your Airtable. And I thought that was a very neat feature to add to this automation because a lot of posts become a lot more engaging and relevant to people when you're actually able to include statistics and real-world examples that back up your content. And of course, if you want to keep things more simple, you don't have to include that aspect. I think it adds a lot more versatility to this automation and it makes the workflow a lot more dynamic. So as you can see, it looks like there's a lot going on in this automation, and perhaps there is, but if you actually take it down to the finer levels and try to understand it, it's actually a pretty straightforward workflow, and it actually mimics what you would be doing yourself if you're producing this content manually. And if you really wanted to, you could even use this process to create a YouTube script or a TikTok video outline if you're a video creator. And the thing about this is that it saves you so much time in drafting posts and figuring out how to optimize them for every single platform so that you can get the best performance possible out of your content. And of course, there's so much that you could do with this in terms of customization and training. I just included that simple example of retrieving examples from a Google Doc, and you can experiment around with this a little bit if you want to, but in my experience, Claude is so great at creativity that you don't have to give it that much information in order to produce a really high quality output. And ultimately, this automation could save you upwards of 5 hours per week, depending on how consistent you post and how many platforms you actually want to grow your brand on. So I hope you guys were able to get some value out of this video. And if you have any questions about anything particular in this automation, don't hesitate to let me know down in the comments. And feel free to let me know if you're interested in seeing any more videos like this in the future, because this is such a highly requested automation. I notice a lot of people out there are interested in automating their content workflows. But aside from that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.